Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is stage 19 of the 25 Tour de France, brought to you by Baker Tilly. Big shout out to Baker Tilly for sponsoring every episode of the Butterfly Effect. And it just happens to be that we reached 100,000 subscribers last night when a lot of you were sleeping. Not when Garrett was sleeping. That's why we can post it up at 100K right on the nose there. So big shout out to all of the Chesterfieldians out there for sponsoring us. We'll have a special video out later when Garrett gets time to post it all up. Okay, what's today's stage? Today is the last mountain stage of the 25 Tour de France. That means Tadej Pogačar with over a 4-minute gap on Jonas Vingegaard, and we're talking about 4.5 there on Jonas Vingegaard. It's a ton of time. So Visma bike have to do some work on today's stage and drop Tadej Pogačar if they can, but the problem is they shortened the stage. Last night, they shortened it up to 93 kilometers to go, so we're down to 93 kilometers to go. So we're talking about 58 miles in length, with 3 category climbs though. These are solid climbs. Col de Pré will start you off at about 12 kilometers. Then we'll go into Roseland, and then we'll go into La Planche. La Planche is almost 20 kilometers long, and we're talking about 7.5%. So the first climb is the steepest, without a doubt. But all of these climbs are super narrow, technical switchbacks, curvy, twisty, all the way up the climb. That means the descents are dangerous too. So if you went to bed last night and you know the stage got shortened because of the cow problem they had going over the original climb Col de Saisy that they're now taken out, that means at 93 kilometers of today's stage, Tadej Pogačar is going to be interested in trying to win a stage. There's no doubt about it. That's exactly what I thought when they shortened the stage, because he didn't get to win yesterday when Ben O'Connor won. Now, I told you guys yesterday Tim Wellens had a no mistake, called him a knucklehead because he went up the road and wasted too much energy. UAE Team Emirates ran out of bullets on the final climb. They couldn't protect Tadej Pogačar the way it was, so Tadej Pogačar had to let Ben O'Connor go up the road. He went up the road with Rubio and Jorgensen. Visma bike didn't pull back there. Ben O'Connor won the stage. Tadej Pogačar did not, but it's been a little while for the Slovenian, so you got to believe he wants to win the last mountain stage here at the Tour de France. Stage starts proper at kilometer 0. Lidl Trek's right away on the front. Tactic 101. These guys are looking beautiful. Somebody send me some jerseys signed, and if Trek wants to be really nice, which they should be because the green jerseys were something, you should send me my red bike from the Volta a España in 2013 after this Tour de France is done, when Johnny Milan wraps up the green jersey. Well, with Lidl Trek driving on the front, they'll be up there for about 12 kilometers till we get into the intermediate sprint competition. Johnny Milan grabs maximum points. He's got this almost wrapped up. So after that, we see some action. Jonas Abrahamsen throws in the attack. He's going solo, but he's a big guy. You know, he can't go anywhere. So we come into the first climb with about 75 kilometers to go, just a couple K over that. We see that Abrahamsen got wrapped up just before that, and Julian Alaphilippe, Michael Storer, and Primoz Roglic. Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe throwing in attack. These guys are attacking all the way up this climb, and I told you guys it's twisty, nasty, 180 switchbacks all the way up the climb. The groups up here are bringing back Primoz Roglic multiple times. Tim Wellens driving on the front. Solaire's having problems off the back, but a lot of guys are going to have problems, and Soler is trying to move a little ways up, as we see him back there with Jorgensen that's having some problems too. It's been suffering madness going up this climb when you look at how the peloton's just blown up all over the place. Eventually, we see 3 riders that'll break away from the peloton. Primoz Roglic is one. Valentin Perepente from Soudal Quickstep won a stage here at the Tour de France already. And they got some company with Lenny Martinez there from Bahrain Victorious that needs himself some KOM points, but he needs a lot because Jonas has second place, still ahead of Lenny Martinez, but Poggi is in first place here at the KOM jersey. So Lenny Martinez is grabbing maximum points. When he does this, we look behind and we see my man Victor Campenaerts. Once those guys got away, we're going over the top of this KOM. Those guys are about 35 seconds behind the 3 riders in front. The peloton being led by Tim Wellens. Tim Wellens wants some redemption right here because he knows that yesterday's fiasco of going up there riding solo for so many miles probably cost Tadej Pogačar the stage victory. So Tim Wellens right now is driving. He's got some help from Soler. We're back to film up down that climb, and I told you Soler was getting dropped early, but he was leapfrogging from group to group, spectacular style, as Soler found himself up to the front group, and now he's pulling over the top of this first category climb here on stage 19 of the Tour de France with Tim Wellens. Those guys will drop down the backside, and we're going to come down the dam as we see the 3 leaders go across the dam. Primoz Roglic driving on the front. Perepente is there. Lenny Martinez. All these guys are taking some turns. When they get ready to start the next climb, that's about 6 kilometers long. As they start the next climb, we're going to go back and look at the peloton coming down this descent. It was blowing up all over the place, single file. Then when they came across the bridge, it was in two groups. First off, it was only about 45, 50 riders coming over the top of the KOM, but coming down the descent becomes two groups when they went over that dam bridge, and the front group's starting to be led now by Uno X on this bump. Uno X is driving it right now. Well, why are they driving so hard? Let's look back at that second group part of the peloton that's got split off, and we see it's Kevin Vauquelin back there from Arkea Samsic. Well, there's no more Samsic, it's just Arkea. But three riders from Arkea are drilling it back there, trying to get Kevin Vauquelin's back into the front group because he's top 10 on the general classification. But when we look up front, Uno X is driving it. That's because Tobias Johannesson is one place behind on the general classification in 8th, while Kevin Vauquelin's in 7th. So he has a chance of flipping over. Now, this is the last mountain stage of the Tour de France, so just about anything goes. I don't think I would be Uno X driving on the front, but they are not knuckleheads. I'm about 49.5 to 50.5 on how I would play this thing. Me personally, I'm not putting my guys on the front when I got Tadej Pogacar and Jonas Vingegaard getting a free ride, just so that I can move up from 8th to 7th. Who knows what can happen at the end of today's stage, because if you remember right, in yesterday's stage 18, Ben O'Connor won the stage when he got away from Tadej Pogacar because he ran out of firepower back there, and so did Viz Melissa bike. Well, they sent Jorgensen up the road. But anyways, Ben O'Connor, you know I'm getting at. Anything's possible here because UAE team members all the way back in the first week of the Tour de France lost Almeida, so they're underpowered. I already told you Solaire's done a ton of work back there, so that probably cost him some time. Niels Paulette dropped off early on the first climb, so they have power in this front group, but I would not be pulling if I'm Uno X. It's just not worth it. But they are because Arkea's back there. So we go up front, and we see that Lenny Martinez is having some problems on this second climb here at the Tour de France. As he's having some problems, Perapente was putting down some pressure on the pedals. Primoz Roglic bridged across to him. Then Lenny Martinez is going to struggle big time, but he's going to find his way back up to the two riders in front. Now we're coming into about 53 kilometers to go when they're coming up to this next KOM, and Lenny Martinez has found his way back on. So when they go over the second KOM, Lenny Martinez grabs himself maximum points. They go over the top. The peloton behind that wrapped up my man Victor Campenaut's group while coming down the descent, well, these guys are going full gas right now, and we see UAE team members are driving on the front. They're only holding about a 50-second minute gap back there to Primoz Roglic. But Primoz Roglic is getting gapped by Valentin Perapente from Pseudo Quickstep. So is Lenny Martinez. Valentin Perapente is flying down this descent. Takes about 40 kilometers to go. I call it about 45, and Primoz Roglic has bridged his way back up to Perapente with Lenny Martinez on his wheel, and the Slovenian goes flying straight by Perapente. Now he's going solo. Perapente and Lenny Martinez are back there trying to catch the Slovenian up there from Bora Hansgrohe, but they're not having any luck. We go back and look at the peloton. Tim Wellens is going craziness ape fast on the front of the peloton here. They've dropped Soler somewhere coming down the descent, so Tim Wellens is doing everything he can to bring back the front group of three. He doesn't have to do too much work to bring back Lenny Martinez and Perapente, because Perapente is going to drop Lenny Martinez, so Lenny Martinez is going to get caught somewhere coming down the descent. But Perapente is trying to get up to Primoz Roglic, who's going solo, and the only problem is it starts getting like wet and starts getting some sprinkles out there. Well, Primoz Roglic is going through all the corners wickedly fast as the Slovenians throwing everything out to try to win a final stage here, mountain stage of the Tour de France in 2025. Perapente is not having any luck there, so we see Primoz Roglic come off with about 35 kilometers off the descent as he's coming into town, but now it's got wet, nasty, and everything. Comes through the feed zone. You see him grab the bottle there. It's a big on your screen, right? The camera caught it just magnificently. There's Primoz Roglic grabbed the bottle with the gels on there. He rips the gel out, throws it in his pocket, puts the bottle in his cage, and he's starting to go to work. But the peloton's hot on his heel, and Tim Wellens is still driving the peloton. Look at the spray off the wheels here as we see Tim Wellens driving it. They got Narvaez in the group. They still have Adam Yates in the group, but he's a little further back. Pogge's in good position. Jonas Vingegaard's there, and he's got Simon Yates for company. We go a little bit further back, and other than Simon Yates, and it's my man Victor Campenaut still in this front group. This front group's down to about 35 riders right now because I told you Kevin Vauquelin's and a few companions got split off on that descent, so Arkea Samsic's still driving it. At the front, Tim Wellens is still driving it too, and we start seeing Primoz Roglic know that he's going to get wrapped up with about 24 kilometers to go, but Primoz Roglic keeps going. Now it'll be into about 22 kilometers to go that Tim Wellens wraps up Primoz Roglic. Did I like this tactic? I didn't like this tactic at all. It became incredibly obvious going up the first climb that UAE Team Emirates, Tim Wellens, was driving it on the front, which tells you for sure that Poggi wants to win the last mountain stage. So I didn't like this ideal right now from Primož Roglič, and he's wasted a ton of energy as Tim Wellens is driving right by him. We come in about 20 kilometers ago. The road still was kind of wide as they dropped off that descent, and now it's going to narrow up real quick as the peloton comes in this right turn and over this crazy, beautiful small bridge right here. But you know it's chaos at Mach speed in the rain right now, and Tim Wellens is driving it. They're going to start the last climb, La Planche, 19 kilometers long, so it's a monster climb. We're talking about 7.5%. A little bit softer steepness pitches than the first climb of today's stage 19, but still incredibly difficult at 19 kilometers long. Right when Tim Wellens hits the bottom of the climb, he's driving it, and Primož Roglič comes out the back of the peloton. He's going to have some company shortly as we see Vlasov, his teammate, getting dropped too. Ben O'Connor's back there. Lenny Martinez is getting dropped. The peloton up front starting to pick up speed because AG2R had 5 guys starting this climb, and they still have 3 at the front, and Primož Roglič just dropped. Primož Roglič 5th on the general classification, and we look at 6th. That's Felix Gall, AG2R. So what does AG2R start doing when this climb's starting proper and Tim Wellens is done pulling at the front? AG2R start getting on the front after Narvaez was up there for a short pull, about 500 meters. Narvaez is looking over his shoulder there going, AG2R is coming by? What kind of legs do I got left if I'm getting passed by AG2R right now, Callum Scott's up? Well, Scottson's up there blowing down on the pedals, full gas, and everyone's struggling, but the group's getting down to about 15, 20 riders at this moment. So with the speed there from Callum Scotson, he'll pull off the front and get relieved. He won't drop. He'll just pull off the front, and Perepintre, the other Perepintre, the brother, is pulling on the front. This is Aurelien Perepintre from AG2R. They still got Callum Scotson there from AG2R, and they still got Felix Gall. All 3 are at the front. Tadej Pogačar, Narvaez is up front. Jonas Vingegaard, Simon Yates is up there. Tobias Johannesson is in the picture. Lipovic, 3rd on the general classification, is in the picture. And Oscar Only, 4th on the general classification, is also battling for the white jersey. So we see all the GC favorites up there, and Tobias Johannesson from Uno X, whose team did a ton of work to blow off Kevin Vauquelin, who's back there still somewhere getting ready to start the climb. As that's happening up front, well, Adam Yates has already gotten dropped at this point in time, so Narvaez is the last rider left at this moment for Tadej Pogačar. Perepintre is at the front, and it's bookended by his brother at the back there, Valentin Perepintre, who was up there with Primož Roglič originally. Now he's still holding on to the back as his brother's drilling him. We see up there Perepintre will start to blow. Once he starts to blow, he's drifting back. He's going to pass his brother back there, and they're probably going to talk about what they're going to do after the Tour de France as Aurelien Perepintre is dropping off, and Perepintre, his brother, Valentin, is holding on to the back of the peloton. But up front, Callum Scotson starts putting in some acceleration. Now we come up to this tree section, and we start seeing that it's Narvaez that has some problems. He's pulling out to the right side, he's sitting up, and he starts drifting to the back of this group that's about 15 riders. Then up front, Callum Scotson's done. Felix Gall's throwing in acceleration. This caused an explosion of the GC riders. With the speed here of Gall, remember, Gall's trying to move up a position because originally 5th was Primož Roglič, who's dropped. So Felix Gall's 6th, he can move into the top 5. That's why AG2R, like I said, has been drilling on the front. Felix Gall's going to continue the work. As Felix Gall's drilling it, Jonas Vingegaard, Tadej Pogačar, Oscar Only's bridging across, and we look back there, the Lipovic is latched on too. When we look at the back, though, right away, we start seeing some destruction because Simon Yates is done. And we see that it's Perepintre back there, along with Narvaez that's getting dropped, along with Frank Vandenbroek back there, who happens to be the teammate of Oscar Only, who's Picnic. So as we see Frank Vandenbroek getting dropped, Oscar Only's closed the gap, as I told you, and we start getting 8 guys up here. Now these 8 guys, we're talking Felix Gall, Tadej Pogačar, Jonas is up there, Oscar Only made it, Lipovic is there, Tobias is there, and Ben Healy's on there too, and our Innsman. Our Innsman's made this front group. 8 guys and our Innsman from Ineos have made this front group. That's why I told you after a stage victory on stage 14, the next days when he was pulling so hard on the flat stages before these final 2 mountain stages, I said Ineos and our Innsman and Knucklehead to do that much work because we still had mountain stages left and our Innsman's in this front group of 8. Now the important thing to pay attention to when you see this front group of 8 is that nobody has teammates. Nobody has teammates here. That's a big issue because we're coming into about 14, 15 kilometers to go. Our Ansman's at the back. Felix Gall's at the front, but he's getting kind of tired of pulling on the front at this moment. So our Ansman's coming up the right side of the peloton. As he's coming up the right side of the peloton, I'm sitting on Chesterfield thinking this is a perfect time to attack because you have to get away from Tadej Pogačar and Jonas Vingegaard go first and second on the general classification that have no teammates left in this group of 8. Our Ansman's coming up the right side. Gall starts fading over from a little bit closer to the center to the right road, but now he's fading over to the right and he's getting ready to close off the door there to our Ansman, but then he stops a little bit short of the right side of the road. Our Ansman blows past Felix Gall at the front, is looking back, and the spectator that's on the right side just barely making it. As he blows past, Tadej Pogačar throws in the turbo butt. He throws it in. Jonas Vingegaard throws it in too. Now, once these guys start getting the gap, they're bridging up there to our Ansman. Our Ansman sits up. Tadej Pogačar throws in an acceleration. Jonas Vingegaard follows it directly. Our Ansman's getting dropped. Everybody in the back there is fighting and scraping their way to get back up to these guys. Our Ansman's stuck in the middle. I'm thinking, Ansman, you got to go. You got to go as hard as you can because if Jonas Vingegaard wants to win today's stage, he's got to sit on Tadej Pogačar. The strategy has to be to sit on Tadej Pogačar because you've tried all the other strategies throughout the first 18 stages here at Tour de France by pulling Tadej Pogačar around. Didn't work. Now you know the general classification is basically over at this moment, but you can still win a stage if you're Jonas Vingegaard, so you got to follow Tadej Pogačar. That means what? That means Tadej Pogačar, if he can't drop Jonas, he's got to back off the throttle because why would you want to risk any time on the race leader's yellow jersey for a stage win when you already have 4? So Pogi backs off the throttle. When he does, our Ansman comes back up. Now our Ansman comes up here and you see him a little bit in the center of the road. Then he's moving over to the right side of the road. Pogi staying on the left. So our Ansman throws in a second attack. Pogi brings it back. Jonas is still sitting on Tadej Pogačar there. And we see another attack by our Ansman. With the third attack by our Ansman, Pogi brings it back again. And then our Ansman throws in a fourth attack. This fourth attack starts to get a gap on Pogi and Jonas Vingegaard behind. Now Pogi starts pulling, but the gap out there to our Ansman where we look at him, the Ineos rider is suffering right now, but he's still holding the speed and gaining time on Pogi and Vingegaard back there. Now, with the tongue hanging out from our Ansman, you know he's throwing everything into it. We go back and look at the guys that are suffering back there. Somehow, Frank Vandenbroek there from Picnic has found his way onto the front. He's post-Picnic, so only sitting second on his wheel. Lipovitz is there, Tobias Johannesson's there, and Felix Gall stuck in the gap between Pogi and Jonas. Now, we'll see Felix Gall start to close the gap. Frank Vandenbroek blows, but gets it close enough for Oscar Only to close the gap. We got all the GC favorites back to go with just under 12 kilometers to go. There's 7 riders. Pogi was on the front, Felix Gall goes back to the front. They're still worried about Primož Roglič back there. It looks like his time at about 2 minutes and 45, 3 minutes back there is getting up there to enough time, but Felix Gall's got to do some more work. And the race radio from his director sportif will come on later saying so that you got to get up there. You got to get the gap over 3 minutes on Primož Roglič. So Felix Gall's driving it on the front. While Felix Gall's driving on the front, that's not helping the workload up there of our Ansman, who's still holding about a 30-second gap right now, but going deep, going into the suffer cave right now for the Ineos rider. As he's up there suffering, Pogi's getting a free ride right now because Felix Gall's still trying to drill it so he can move up a spot on the general classification. Then we come in about 9 kilometers to go. As Felix Gall's realized that he's got enough time right now on Primož Roglič, he's switching over to going, hey, I don't have to be on the front. So Tadej Pogačar has to get on the front. With Pogi on the front setting some tempo, you'd start to think that the gap is at about 30 seconds, and it had reached up to about 35, but it dropped down to about 28. Now it's about 30 seconds. It's a tight battle right now. We still got about 8-9 kilometers to go. We come into 7.5 kilometers. The gap's at 35 seconds. We come into 7 kilometers. Tadej Pogačar throws in an acceleration, but Jonas Vingegaard follows it up right away. With this acceleration, we see that Lipovitz is struggling to close it, but Oscar Only's on. Oscar Only's the 3rd rider right now. Lipovitz is struggling. He'll find his way up there. He'll latch on to put 4 riders. Pogi leading it. Jonas Vingegaard sitting 2nd. Oscar Only 3rd. And Lipovitz sitting fourth, but these guys are in reverse positions on the general classification, so anything can happen for the podium spot here at the Tour de France. With Poggi driving it on the front, with our Ensman drilling it up there, we see Tadej Pogačar stuck in no man's land right now. Does he pull Jonas Vingegaard all the way to the finish? Does he risk losing time on the general classification? Well, Poggi keeps pulling. The time starts coming down to about 25 seconds, and we're coming in about 2.2 kilometers to go when Oscar Only's head drops. As Oscar Only's head drops, he picks it back up. Guys, he struggles big time, and he closes the gap back up to the 3 leaders and holds on for a little bit longer. They're coming into the crowds. It's getting massively crowded here at the Tour de France stage 19, the last mountain stage. And then we see that Oscar Only's head starts struggling again, and he drops off the back. Once he drops off the back, at this point in time, we're talking about 1.7 kilometers to go. Lipovitz is on the right side of the picture. You see him get on the radio. He's looking back over his shoulder. He's getting on the radio again. Then, of course, he must have gotten the green light from the director sportif to drill it. He needs to make up some time because Oscar Only is only about 22 seconds, 23 seconds back on the general classification. They're racing for white, and they're racing for a podium at the Tour de France. So Lipovitz hops on the front right now. This is relieving Tadej Pogačar. Lipovitz starts drilling it. He's getting it down to under 20 seconds. Poggi's still sitting second. Jonas Vingegaard's still third. When we go up and look at our Ensman, he's still suffering. I mean, this kid is suffering big time, and he's starting to come under 1 kilometer to go. Once he comes under 1 kilometer to go, there's bends all over. It's S-bends all the way up to the top. It's super wicked steep right here. So as our Ensman's suffering, Lipovitz is starting to extend the gap out to Oscar Only. Felix Gall's back there with Tobias Johannesson, who's trying to make some kind of deal when it first split off, but Gall's not getting any help from Tobias Johannesson, so his time's starting to gap, but he's not that worried because everyone in front of him's ahead on the general classification. So with Felix Gall drilling it, we're coming in about 500 meters to go. Our Ensman's holding about a 10-second gap. It's looking scary close. Everybody knows sitting on a Chesterfield, Poggi can jump across this gap if he's got fantastic legs, but he's still sitting second. We go back up to our Ensman. He's suffering big time coming in the last 300 meters. He keeps pushing 250 meters. The gap's under 10 seconds right now. Our Ensman's looking back over his shoulder all the time as the Ineos rider knows he's got to dig deep if he wants to win this final mountain stage of the Tour de France. He's digging deep. He's throwing down with everything he can. He comes into about 150 meters to go, and as he comes into 150 meters to go, he's on the pain strip. We go further back and look at the chasers back there. They're only at about 50 meters back there, so we're coming in about 200. Jonas Vingegaard throws in attack. As Jonas Vingegaard throws in attack, our Ensman's cresting up over the top the last 75 meters. He believes he's got a shot at winning today's stage, but we got to go back and look at Jonas Vingegaard's attack. As he's attacking, Tadej Pogačar's on his wheel. Jonas goes over that same paint strip. He exits the paint strip safely. Tadej Pogačar goes through the paint strip. He exits safely. Lipovitz goes through the paint strip with his left pedal stroke, powering down on the pedal, so his rear wheels loses traction, slips all the way over to the right side. He's going a little crossways. Luckily, Lipovitz holds it just as the camera disappears and comes back up to our Ensman. We don't know for sure because there's no time gap there, and it's bent, so many bends in the road that we don't know where they are, but our Ensman must know because he sits up, starts to celebrate with both hands over his head. He can't believe it. We look just as he's coming across the line. Jonas is coming around the corner there. They're just about 50 meters hot on his heels. Jonas Vingegaard's leading Tadej Pogačar. Lipovitz has lost a little bit of a gap, but Jonas is leading across the line at 2 seconds hot on the heels there of our Ensman, who just barely won today's stage. Our Ensman comes across the line. He's exhausted. He's devastated here as he's used every bit of energy he has. As we see, our Ensman's about passed out here at the end of the stage, but he wins 2 stages here at the Tour de France. Congratulations, our Ensman, for taking a spectacular ride. Jonas Vingegaard second on the stage, as I told you. Poggi third on the stage. We look further back. Lipovitz, a few seconds off, will come across the line, and just behind him, we'll see Oscar Only, that was battling with Lipovitz, will lose about another 20-30 seconds there to Lipovitz as he crosses the line. So Lipovitz stays third on the general classification. Jonas Vingegaard the same, as he gains just a little bit of time bonus on Tadej Pogačar. No big deal. The Slovenian looks like he is going to wrap up the 25 Tour de France. But remember, he's still got to get through stage 21 in Paris on the Champs, and it is not a celebration day. They have changed it. They're using the Olympic road race course from last season. So if you watch that, you know it could be chaos for stage 21. So Poggi needs all the time he can have on Jonas Vingegaard in case there's any kind of chaos on that last stage on the Champs. Like and subscribe, guys. I'll see you for stage 20 of the Tour de France real soon.